you go.
Thank you.
Yay! Love you, bro. Love you. Do we know how long we're going?
Saw that. Did she give you your money? 10 to 15 minutes, 5 to 6 questions, so it'll be short.
Okay, and you got the questions in there, or do we have to count?
They're in here.
I'm all ready to go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Am I on? Hello, guys. Glad you're here. Come on in and sit down. Woo! Cranked up the volume. Come on in and sit down, guys. Welcome to CORE.
Get it going.
Here we are, okay?
Get it going.
So, we're glad to see y'all, and we are still unwrapping Christmas gifts. Do you believe it?
Woo woo!
I mean, Jesus is 24/7, right? He's not just like December 25th. He's all year round, right? Oh, that's such enthusiasm. Come on, we're unwrapping Christmas again. So, Jocelyn and I were with the kids on Christmas, right?
Yes, we didn't get to do this, but we got to watch it, and we wanted to do it too.
Right.
Well, like with you.
So, we're going to get started. Are you going to pick first person?
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys, first of all, do you all remember this activity? Where you were? Okay. So just a brief, like, in case you weren't here, the idea is that a person will start. They will answer a random question from within this basket, and then after they answer the question, they will pick somebody else, and they will pick out a question and ask that person that question. And it's a way of just, some of them are funny, some of them are a little bit more thought-provoking or things like that. It's a way to open up ourselves to each other. Does that make sense?
That's the unwrapping
So,
part.
Wanda, you said you hadn't done it, right? Come on up. Do you want to pick a question and a person?
Yes, she does. Look, she perfectly does.
So pick somebody that you want to ask a question to, and then you're going to come draw the question.
Happy birthday to Monica and Casey.
Do all things without murmurings and disputings.
Said the Lord.
All right, so I'm asking Monica the question.
And then you're going to...
Yes, I am.
Okay. What is the question that no one has asked you that you wish someone would?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's because it was yours, man.
No stress.
I have no idea.
Can you form that into a question? Can you form that into a question?
No.
Can you try? The question that nobody has asked you, but you wish they would.
I can't think of any that nobody's asked me. Because mainly I would just tell you whether you ask me or not.
There you go. Okay, so we're accepting it.
Right?
That wasn't a question. Just put your
But it's
voice up
still the
in air.
truth. Oh wait, I have to pick a person first?
Yes.
Mr. Randy. Welcome back to Pennsylvania, buddy. Yep.
Okay, Randy, here is your question.
Oh, God, help me.
I think you should have to answer my question.
The answer already is no.
The question is, how were you Jesus to somebody recently?
I could answer that in 5 languages, but not in public.
Thank you.
Oh, Jesus, help me. The question is, how was I Jesus to somebody lately? I listened. Today, somebody called me up, just their life was just in the crapper, and all I did was listen for an hour on the phone.
And you get to pick somebody and you're going to ask.
Oh,
Awesome. Thank you, Randy.
Oh.
Thank God Jesus listens.
oh,
You have to pick their name before you look at the question.
why before I look at the question?
That's what that was the rule.
Oh,
Pick
man.
the person.
Seriously. Dawn Derniak.
Okay. Okay, Dawn. Now pick the question, Randy. Here you go, ma'am.
Okay.
What is something most of us don't know about you?
Easy. Careful.
Easy, easy, easy. How about me? Let's think.
No stress, no pressure.
Okay, I'm gonna be real here. Mark puts his clothes away better than I do at home. It's the worst job. I don't mind doing laundry. I hate to put my clothes away.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Dawn. That's an interesting tidbit that we all will remember, right? Maybe you could send us a picture and post it, please. Okay, you get to pick somebody, Dawn. No, pick somebody first.
Casey King, it's his birthday.
It's right behind you.
How about Melanie Eliason?
Okay, Melanie. And now, Dawn, pick your question.
All right. When first meeting someone, it really puts me at ease if they...
It puts me at ease if they're a hugger.
Somebody give her a hug.
There we go.
Okay, I think we got time for what, one more?
Okay. Lauren Diefenbach.
Where's Lauren?
Oh, I guess I have to read. What are you doing to improve the life of another?
That's a good question.
Well, I work with kids, so I make sure that I bring the best version of myself possible for them. I have 6 kids that I work with.
Hey! And you going to pick somebody?
Sure.
We're doing one more.
One more.
Grand finale.
Oh, okay. Lauren Gabler.
Okay.
She needs a question.
Oh, it's a good one.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Lauren Gabler. What drives and motivates you?
Something recently that I have found as a big motivation for life in general is just the thankfulness of others and just the thankfulness of others. It's really inspiring. Some people I see who seem like they should just be, from my perspective, like they have every reason to be miserable, and they are giving thanks to Jesus for everything.
Yay, thank you everybody. We'll continue to unwrap Christmas gifts throughout the year. Whenever and I like that, like I said, we weren't here, but I like when Mark said, so if he's preaching or speaking and you're bored, why not jump up and say, hey, let's do Christmas? So we can remember that, right? Okay. I want to share 2 opportunities real quick. Okay, and I'm excited about both of them, okay? The first one is we are doing an Ice Fest outreach again this year. Oh yeah, kids can go. All kids go with Miss Jocelyn. What ages go with Jocelyn? There you go, 5 to 11 that way. Preschool and babies that way, to your right. So this is going to be the 7th year that we've done an Ice Fest outreach. I'm like, wow, 7 already? 7 years, right? So what we're going to do is, I was thinking we did this last year, but actually it was the year before last. Last year we were on the streets asking people what they're thankful for. It was a great time. But we do a blessing, like a chain blessing. Anybody remember that? Anybody that was with us? Jen, you were with us. Remember that? So I was thinking it was 2 years ago. You thought so? Okay, I was messed up on that. Okay, that's how quick time goes in, my mind. Anyway, like the time that we did it, here's what we do, okay? Basically, we get the thing going, and you know how we just did this game where somebody asks somebody, and so you guys did the picking? We do the same thing on the street. We get it going, and then we give somebody a chance to pick a blessing card from our bag, and then ask them to pick somebody else. And then we just go through the crowd that way. So it's really interactive. It's great. And Jen, you remember the time that we ended up invited into somebody's apartment? We were on the street doing this, okay? And somebody gave us a key to their apartment building, loaned us a key, and said, could you go to apartment such and such, knock on the door, and ask the guy to pray for him? If you could pray for him. And we're like, okay, we did that. I think Jonah and Jovi were with us. Ethan was with us. And so, here we are. We're on the street. Next thing you know, we're in somebody's apartment praying for this fella. And he received the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is so much fun, really. So on the 28th, that's going to be January 28th after gathering. We're not going out on Saturday. We're going to go out on Sunday after the gathering, 1 o'clock to 2:30. What we want to ask the family to do, and I think Diane's helping us with this, right? We're going to have cards that are going to, our theme is, may grace and peace be multiplied to you. So our theme is grace. We just want to bless the community with grace, just our presence. We know is releasing some grace. So we're going to have the cards available, I think maybe Sunday, okay, we're going to try to have the cards available this Sunday, if not the next Sunday. We're going to ask you to pick up a card, pick up 2 or 3, however many you want to. Fill out the card with an encouraging word that, the Lord helps you realize. Put a nice $5 bill in it, seal it up, and bring it in. Then we'll take those and we'll distribute those on the street. Now, we really want you to come with us, okay? We really want you to come with us. I'm telling you, this is fun. How many have been on an outreach with us before on the street? Look around. Isn't it fun? It's always a good time. Yeah, so, and even if you're a little hesitant, like, I don't know, just come out and try it, okay? You're going to enjoy it. Okay, so that's the first little opportunity, big opportunity I want to share with you. Okay, that's January 28th. Everybody say January 28th. After the gathering. Okay, we're going to do Ice Fest outreach. We'll talk to you more about that. The second thing I want to share real quickly, this is going to be an ongoing opportunity. We are starting back up our before gathering Sunday morning prayer. Okay, how many know that we had that? Okay, so that's maybe a third of us or less realize that we even have that. Do you guys know where the prayer room is in the back? Okay, most of you know that. You come in the door, you turn right, and there's a little like cubbyhole type room. We call it the prayer room. Okay, so we were meeting at 9. We're revamping this. We're going to meet at 9:30. And our intention is to pray for 25 minutes to a half hour just for the service, just for our gathering time. That's our intention. So we're asking if you have a heart to intercede, and I know many of you do. If you have a heart to pray focused for our gathering time, then come and join us, okay? We're not going to start this Sunday. We're seeing how much value this has to you guys, how much value and interest there is in the family. Because quite honestly, If it's just Kate, she can pray at home. Right? If it's just Kate and me, I can pray at home, she can pray at home. But when we come together, okay, then there's a synergy, there's a connection. But so if you're an intercessor, you're interested, please contact myself or Kate. Kate, will you stand up, please? You guys all know Kate, right? Say, hi, Kate. Hi, Kate. Okay, Kate's amazing. She's been just, kind of spearheading this thing from the get-go. So, yeah, that's intercessory prayer. That's going to be at 9:30 every Sunday before the gathering. We're actually looking for I didn't want to put a number on it. We really would like to have about maybe 4 people who are willing to facilitate once a month. That just simply means come in about 5 minutes early, turn the lights on, and just sit and pray. It's focused prayer just for the gathering. Okay, you guys with me on that? Okay, first opportunity was the Ice Fest outreach. Second one is what? When? Okay, guys, you got it. Love you. Thank you. Who's next?
My word, it's so sorry. Okay, so can somebody help me pass some stuff out? People that will run. We just need to make sure people get those, spread those out. So ever since we started these cores, I think this is our 4th core. We've always done calendar, and it seems like doing calendar together has been really good. Like, we all have a better understanding of what's going on, and I feel like, honestly, from the office sometimes, I feel the momentum just rising, which I love. So I want to ante up a little and give you a printed calendar today, and this is making all of my warm fuzzies. I know, it just gets, can I have, actually, Jonathan, can I have one? Thank you. Thanks, Kendall. Okay, this is January, February, and save the date. We don't have to go through all of these because even Sundays are on here, but I thought we'd just run through, and if you have questions, please interrupt, or we can grab you a mic or whatever. So, starting in January, something very cool. I think you're probably already aware, but tomorrow night, SOS 202 is starting. Oh, something else I wanted to say about this. The thing about a calendar is it's really easy to look at it and sort of just mentally look at it in your flesh and be like, okay, that one's me, that one's me, that one's me, and the rest of this doesn't apply to me. But we have to make sure, well, I would like us to, as a family, look at this with our hearts. This one's me, this one I pray about. This one I join in with the family even though I'm not there. You know what I mean? Because I think even when there's stuff happening with the family that we're not at, we can still be part of with our hearts, and we can be praying and present with the people that are doing those things. So all of this is you, just in different forms. So tomorrow night, SOS 202 starts. And I'm trying to skim down through here. Wednesday the 17th is a home group night. And then on January 19th, Mark and Chuck Gabler and Rochelle, I saw you here somewhere, are flying out to Costa Rica to do an SOS down there, which I think is really cool. So they'll be leaving a Friday morning, I can't remember, Friday at some point, and they'll be back Monday. So obviously that's something we can all be praying about. I know there's a lot of people pretty excited. On Monday, January 22nd, Financial Peace University starts. Guys, 24 of our families are registered to do this. Not only that, there were people that really wanted to, and it just didn't fit this time. I love that. I think that is so cool. I'm so excited for it. For those of you who need the babysitting thing, we will have details on that soon. I also wanted to ask, does anybody maybe 18 years or older want to sign up to be the adult in the room for the babysitting end of things? I have quite a few young ones that want to help, and they'll be good supports. But, okay, so DEEF is on the list for that. And then if there's a week or two that you can't do, there's 9 weeks, so then we can maybe find fill-ins for that. Great, thanks, DEEF. Wednesday night the 24th is Bible study. Okay, something else we started to add to the calendar is there's 3 foundational meetings that are happening all the time here. CORE has become one. There's one called Ministry Operations Teams, which is the people that, we don't know what to call this stuff, like head up different departments. Forgive me for all of those words, but I don't know what else to use. Like the people that are in charge of making sure the worship team is running, the people that are in charge of the youth, the people that are, like all of those pieces, we try to get all those people in a room once a month so to make sure they're talking to each other. Does that make sense? And just to hash out different ideas, or sometimes one idea hits 4 different departments, and so it's just great to be in the room and talk about those things. If you see Ministry Operations Team, that's what that is. Leadership meetings are another part of that, and so it's usually something of a cycle. Something comes out of core, and we talk about it with the leaders, and we talk about it with the heads of the different departments, and it sort of just makes this nice little constantly building communication thing. So we wanted you to know those things are happening so that you can be praying with us. If you're not in the room, you're still in the room. We still need to hear from you. Then Mark. Kendall just hit this. The 28th is the Ice Fest outreach. Heading into February, I'm trying to think. Oh, there's a new one. February 10. We're doing Guess Who's Coming for Dinner. I think this is the 4th time we've done this here. Is anybody not done Guess Who's Coming for Dinner or don't know what this is? Devorah Rodriguez's. Okay, Wanda, sorry, Ariana. Okay, so Ben and Jen will describe all of this Sunday. We'll start talking about all the details Sunday, but essentially it's a dinner surprise. We'll just put it that way. You can host or guest people in your home. It's wonderful for building relationships with new people, so please be part of that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, okay. February 22nd is Sessions of Sonship. There's 1 place left. So I'll let you guys fight over that. Huh? Oh, I didn't get it. There may be 0 places left. If there are 0 places, which I'll check here shortly, there will be 1 planned in September. So you can earmark your... Or summer. That's true. I forgot about that. Why did I forget? Summer. I think we're doing the first weekend in July. That's not on here. First weekend in July. In your save the dates, I'm trying to see if there's anything we should hit. Go ahead. Tell me which ones. Okay. That one. Go ahead. Anybody want to bet I was on 2017's calendar when I looked at that? Okay. No, I've already reprinted this once today. You guys are going to get out your pens and change it. Okay, so what's the correct date? March 6th? Okay, that's a tentative date anyway. And then so that it would be Wednesday, March 12th, right?
14.
Oh, I was doing really well. Okay. Okay. That'll be right in February's calendar. See you at CORE. Saturday, March 17th. Please tell me that's right.
Hey, you got that one.
Yeah, okay. One Marriage Day. Ben and Jen are going to continue their emphasis with us on marriage. I don't know if you guys got to participate with us on that last year. We'll get more details to you soon, but please write that down in your calendar. Something else that's coming up. Guys, in April, 3 of our 4 weekends have huge events here. Like Wayne's Spring of Hope has a huge conference here. Network Ministries here in Chambersburg had that big banquet here last year. They're doing that again this year. And then we've also got our family gathering. We need to have a down and dirty cleaning weekend in between some of those weekends so that we're ready. Down and dirty cleaning. That means you get down on your hands and knees and scrub.
It makes a lot of sense.
We need to polish it up before we invite all of our dear friends to come see us. So I would love it if we could get enough volunteers for Saturday, the 21st of April. Check your calendars. Let me know if you can help. If we do 3 hours with a big crew, it does not take long. It takes a long time if there's 6 of us here. Huh? It is, yeah, she's right, it is fun. And if you like acrobatics, you'll be the one on the ladder. You guys all have the family gathering written down. Just to save the date mentally right now, September, there's going to be a weekend, 1 marriage retreat. We're working that out with the SOS weekend scheduling, so we'll have those dates hopefully soon.
And if there's enough demand, we'll do a 202 sometime this year. SOS.
And if there's enough demand, we'll do an SOS 202 as well. Denver, please. I can't hear you, though.
I can talk about it.
Okay.
Could we come up with a commitment sheet for the through spring cleaning. So we actually-
Commitment sheet for who spring cleaning? Does that mean I write down names?
I don't know what the solution is. I think we agree with this.
Okay. Well, since it's January, I'm not going to ask for that yet. February core, if you are available, I'll write your names down then to help with the spring cleaning. Can we do that? Yeah? Okay. Anybody else have questions? All right. Where's my... Oh, that's next. That's good. It's next one here. I didn't even look at that yet. Okay, so February core is February 14. We thought we'd ask you by show of hands, do any of you have a traditional hot date on Valentine's Day that we should not have core that night? I know we all... A lot of, like, that's what our assumption was. A lot of people do stuff on the weekend, or at other times they won't do it Wednesday night. But we didn't want to assume it. If you wanted to speak up and say no. Trish is volunteering to plan core. Sincerely, does anybody have an issue if we keep core on the 14th? Are you okay with that? Okay, come dressed up if you want. We'll take pictures. Oh, yeah, Jen. Do you want to try the dinner idea? I mean, we could ask them what they think. Yeah. Here, take this. That way the live stream can hear you.
Well, first of all, it alarms me how many couples are not planning to go out on Valentine's Day. So we thought, this is really loud. It feels weird. We thought maybe we could host a little dinner here for couples before core starts and do your candlelight idea out in the cafe. So if you're interested in that, maybe let the office or me know so we can, if there's enough interest, then we'll proceed with that idea. Is that what you mean by try? Okay. What?
Something else I wanted to get people thinking about with the family gathering in April. Jocelyn has in mind to do like kids stuff that weekend. For the kids between ages 5 and 11, she was going to do sort of like she did this summer. With the summer camp, she was going to have 4 or 5 different times during the adult gatherings where there's also like kids stuff going on. We'd like you to feed back to us after you've had a chance to think about this a little bit. We'd like you to feed back to us if your kids would be interested in that, if you'd be interested in bringing them. We'd also like the kids are going to need to be pre-registered. So whenever you register for family gathering, the kids need to be too. So just put it in the back of your head right now. I wanted to plant the seed so that we had some idea of how much interest there was in that. Does that make sense? Okay.
How are we going to get that back to you?
Please. Good question. Go ahead.
While we're talking about the family gathering weekend, we're going to need a lot more host homes this time. I have a feeling because I think it's going to be a lot bigger than our other ones. We're hoping. So contact me if you have a place for people to stay because I want to start working on that early so it's not such a last-minute thing. So talk to me or Diane or someone. Thanks.
Okay. Mark just asked how to get interest into the office. I guess, I don't know how to do that. I guess just email the office or message me. I don't know. Get it to me. Stop me someplace and tell me if you're interested. Are you ready to go ahead? I think Ben and Jen offered to allow you to go forward if you'd like.
Ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're ready.
A couple things about the calendar.
It's very hot.
All the girls are like, no.
Can I have that? Oh, I'll just use this one. A couple things I just want to, and I think we've kind of talked about some of this before, but I want to reiterate it. The family gathering weekend, you'll see the 2 words with it are something like equip and encounter or encounter and equip. We have had a vision to kind of reset or at least remind the kind of about the foundation of what we believe about sonship and about the Father's heart. And we felt like most of our Koinonia family gatherings in here have never had teaching or preaching. They've had a lot of discussion times and a whole lot of ministry both to each other and to the Lord. We felt like it was really important this time to do two things. Number one, kind of spend a lot more time teaching and laying foundations again, so we're kind of all on the same page, because a lot of people have, over the last 7 to 8 years, kind of come in part way through and might not really understand why we do the things we do, why we believe the things we believe. So we're going to spend a lot of time that weekend. That's why we're starting Wednesday night this time. We're not doing like special meetings ahead of time or smaller gatherings ahead of time. We're going to start Wednesday evening, and we're going to go right through the weekend with both preaching times, teaching times, workshops. We'll have 3 and 4 different workshops going on at a time during the day, and then you'll be able to take different workshops throughout the day. They'll be repeated, that kind of thing. And secondly, the other thing that's really important to us is we're intentionally inviting other streams, other relationships, people that have not necessarily been a part of our Koinonia gatherings before. We're asking them to come and be a part of it this time. So we're intentionally kind of opening this thing up and not just saying, hey, if you've been a part of Koinonia or part of World Harvest at some point, come and be a part of this. So I've personally, and I've already gotten quite a few confirmations within the WorldCast Ministries family, which is Harold and Linda Eberly. I've got at least 8 to 10 pastor couples coming for that weekend. I know Randy's talking to several. Harold will be here speaking, so will Randall Worley, and his wife Penny will be here that weekend. And we're really hoping this opens up not only to our global relationships, but even your local relationships and your global relationships for that matter. I think Maddie's right. I think this will be a bigger one, and it's gonna kind of fit into some of the things I'm going to share tonight about the longer term vision. So there was something else. Oh, the kids part. Yeah, because it's longer, Wednesday through Saturday, we wanted to make it available for all our families so that they could be a part of the entire thing, that we would be much more intentional with the kids during our family gathering time. So Jocelyn is volunteering to make sure that at all of our sessions there will be kids' versions of what we're doing here. There will be equipping times, there'll be ministry times, there'll be worship times for the kids during that time. And right now our goal is to not charge any families any more money to do that. So there won't be any babysitting costs associated with that. We'll either, the cost for registering for this weekend, because it's longer and because we're going to actually have some speakers, it is a little bit more. Do we remember what the numbers are? Maddie? 35 for an individual and 50 for a family, which is still way cheap, especially by the end of the weekend when you see how much you're going to be getting out of it. So we're going to pull some portion of that $50 family fee out and supply the kids to make sure that she's got resources, food, which is probably the most important resource for kids ministry, and have that all available to her. Plus, if we need to, we also have some money in a Koinonia fund we can help support that. So please, families, if you're trying to figure out what to do with your kids, we want to take away that excuse and give you the opportunity to be here with us, and as well as equip your kids during that time. Okay? Any questions about that? Or about that weekend, or that long half a weekend? Yeah. Oh, the ages? Ages are 5 to 11. Okay, thank you. Okay, does anybody have any thoughts or comments on the calendar as it's set right now, or anything that we've shared so far tonight? Anything? Because once I get going, I just want to keep going. We're all good? Yeah, Lisa. Yeah. So you think everybody should go that's married? Yeah, it was really good. We had somewhere between 25 and 30 couples the last time, and we'd love to see that increase this time. It was really good. Like, Ben and Jen did a great job. Trish was involved in doing some crazy activities for us, and the participation was great. The investment was worth it. And we even had some really cool art we got to take away from our weekend. It was very interesting. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that, where is that on here? February 10th. Yeah, the guest, no, that's because he was coming to dinner. March 17th. No? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, March 17th will be a one-day thing from like 9 to noon or 1 o'clock or something like that. That's going to be a real discussion-oriented teaching time too. Very helpful. A lot of discussion going on there. You can ask a lot of questions that you maybe wouldn't ask. Be a good time for that. Okay? That sound good? All right. How many people brought a Bible? Do you guys bring Bibles to core gatherings? A few of you do? Wonderful. Oh, yeah, phones, right. It's okay. Just one verse. Huh? Do I need to get over it? Okay, they're saying I should get over it. Okay, hold on a second. I heard that. Genesis 14. So I have, I'm not sure how many people were here then, but I still remember this, and it's the weirdest thing. Like my kids will tell me I have the worst memory of anyone they know. But then I remember crazy stuff like this. I remember in September of 2010, I first preached on this scripture. And it was right after the transition from Gene to myself at Who. And I brought up this short little, I mean really small, like it almost kind of goes unnoticed in scripture. But this little verse here, or these 2-3 verses here in Genesis 14 have so impacted my life that it has become like the core of my vision of what I see for us as a church family and for all of our relationships worldwide as we go forward. So Genesis 14. Well, let me just give you a quick synopsis of this before we jump in at 13. So there's a war between 5 kings and 4 kings. And 2 of the kings are the kings of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah. And there's 2 different kings, one for Sodom and one for Gomorrah. And they go out to wage war against 5 other kings. So it's 4 kings' armies against 5 kings' armies. And the group that's with Sodom and Gomorrah loses the war. And all of their cities, all of the people of the cities, all of the stuff gets taken captive by these 4 kings. And they're leading them away. And Abram's nephew Lot and his family are in Sodom by this time. So his nephew Lot is taken captive. And all of his family is gone with him in captivity with the other cities. And then we jump in here. And the reason why I give you that synopsis is because if you actually look at the names of the kings, I just don't want to say them. I'm not even sure how to, and I've tried before, and it just comes out terrible. People think I'm swearing in different languages. So in Genesis 14, starting in verse 13, well, it says in verse 12, they also took Lot, Abram's nephew, and his possessions and departed, for he was living in Sodom. And then a fugitive came and told Abram the Hebrew. Now he was living, by the way, it's just a really, just cool little interesting things. It doesn't have anything to do with what I'm teaching about. But there was no such thing as Hebrew before Abram. There was no people group called the Hebrews. It was just Abram. And so this really cool thing, like they called Abram the Hebrew. He's the first one. It's a really cool thing. Anyway. Then a fugitive came and told Abram the Hebrew. Now he was living by the oaks of Mamre. By the oaks. See, they still get me to say stuff. The Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of, that's another word, I really don't even want to say it, you know? For obvious reasons. And these were allies with Abram. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, here's the key. When Abram heard that his family had been taken captive, he led out trained men, born in his house, 318, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. And that's not a guy, that's a land. Sorry, I cracked myself up. That's how not funny I am. All right. He divided his forces. I'm supposed to be serious here, man. This is serious stuff. He divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and defeated them. Now, that word them is like one of the most minimalistic words in Scripture. Because it just says he defeated them. But we don't even, if we don't go back and read all those strange names and all that stuff, we don't realize that he defeats 4 kings and their armies with 318 people born and trained in his house. That's one of the most inspiring lines of Scripture to me. Something's going on inside of Abram's house that is so powerful that not only do 318 men do it, but they divide their forces, which means they're flanking them and they're going in at the center. It's not all just one big bum rush right up the middle. They're actually divided and going in. There's something just otherworldly about that. Huh? Yeah, so something like 80 in a pack. You know, and Dawn says this many times when I bring this up. It's like that movie, The 300. Every time I watch that, I just that, and I wish I had a 6-pack. But he divided his forces against them by night. Are you guys all with me? I'm going to stop distracting you. Defeated them and pursued them. Didn't just go after them. Divided their forces, defeated them, and then pursued them. Chased after them after defeating them. Chases the enemy back to a place where it can't impact the people they're saving. 318 guys. Brought back all the goods. Also brought back his relative Lot with his possessions and the women and the people. I love that story. He doesn't just get back his relative, he gets back all of them. And then a powerful encounter takes place after this. And this wasn't I wasn't going to plan on, but can we just read this encounter that Abram has with Melchizedek? After his return from the defeat of Chedorlaomer, this is bad. And the kings who were with him, the king of Sodom, went out to meet him at the valley of Sheva, that is the king's valley. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. Now he was a priest of God Most High. It's one of the only times in Scripture where you see a king as a priest. And by the way, there is no history of Melchizedek even existing historically. He's not a real, living king that reigns over lands or over peoples. He just shows up in history, has an encounter with Abram, and then leaves history. I think that probably was. I think that was Jesus, yeah. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. That doesn't sound like Jesus. Communion in the Old Testament, huh? He was a priest of God Most High. He blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abram of God Most High." I love that. Abram of God Most High. Possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him a tenth of all. He tithes to him, doesn't even really know what he's doing. He just hears him, has an encounter with who we know now with all of our perspective as Jesus, and gives him a tenth of everything, of the spoils of what he had just won. Genesis 14, verses 14 through 16 are something that's been emblazoned in my heart for a really long time. And as I think about the next 50 years, and I want to tell you, and I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older, or if it's also because as I grow in relationship with the Father, I begin to think much broader and much longer term. Like the actions and the steps that I take now, I think about them in terms of future, like long-term future, not what I'm going to have for lunch future. I'm talking about the kind of future that my kids are going to be walking in as adults, and they're going to be having kids and walking in as adults. And I can't help, and I think there's probably many of you in this room that can understand what I'm saying. As you grow older, you begin to think about the consequences of your decisions in light of history that hasn't happened yet, but will happen after you. And so I'm beginning to think that way more regularly, more constantly, even in terms, even thinking about messages I speak, even thinking about projects I take on. I'm starting to do a little more like remodeling, construction type work. And as I'm doing it, someone else in here, probably Randy, I know you probably think like this. I'm thinking about, I want this to last 100 years. So you got to build and use the right materials and things like that so it will last that period of time that you have vision for. That's how I'm feeling about us. I want us to be about things and have the quality of what we're doing be so strong and so vital that it lasts long into the future. Anybody else? I want us to think that way. I think many of the people of Scripture thought this way. We find out later, this Abram of God Most High that Melchizedek talked about, we find out in Hebrews that they all were seeing a city that had no foundation, or at least no foundation here on earth. So they were building for something they could not see physically yet, but they had faith and they saw. Tonight I want to talk about a few things that I see by faith. I think it's the same kind of faith that so moved the heart of God that when Abram said, okay, it was reckoned unto him as righteousness. I think it's the shortest answer that got the greatest reward. When God comes up to Abram and says, hey, do you want to come out from your land and your people and come to a land that I'm going to show you? And he says, sounds good. And it says it was reckoned unto him as righteousness. And from there on out, the entire nation of the Hebrew peoples for generations, even now in 2018, say we are the seed of Abraham. I want to have that kind of faith. I want us to have that kind of faith. And Hebrews again in the New Testament says that faith, I'm going to get this right because I always get them mixed up, is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. That's what the NAS says. I want to provide us some substance tonight that you can't hold, but your faith can grab it. I want to give you some evidence tonight that your spirit can lay hold of and give you something to reach for more than I got to pay the bills this month. Does anybody else want to live for something more than some of those trivial small things we're living for now? And what I saw and what I'm continuing to see, and it's unfolding and going before us, it's worth it. And I think it'll spur things on the inside of you. Like, it's interesting this year more than any other year. We talk about vision every year, at least for the last 7 or 8 years. And even before that, when Gene and I were leading the church together, we would talk about vision every year. But there's something interesting about 2018 that people are like tangibly doing something with what they see. Ashley, with inspiring all of you. How many people are doing these vision boards that Ashley started? And there's even more parties planned, aren't there, to do these things? Yeah, look, she brought hers. Stand up. I love it. And it was fun. Look at that. So I want to go through some of this tonight, and I'm already taking a lot of my time, and I have notes. I do. I have notes, and I'm going to read them. I think part of it, to be honest with you, is because I think it's really important. And I want it to be something that's given to you. And I'm going to make these available to all of us then, okay? All right, so I want to just go over some of these words and kind of fly through this. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he led out. That word or that phrase, led out, means he armed them. He gathered them together. The word actually is mustered. Not mustard as in on your hot dog. But like when you muster your forces together, that kind of mustered. And so when you muster, anyone who's been in the military, I'm pretty sure I know this because I've seen all the good movies, that what happens is when you muster your forces, you gather them and you say the plan. And you give them the strategy and what is needed. And I think that's what happened here. He armed them, he mustered them, and then here's the other part. He led out. He emptied his house. That's what the word in the Hebrew means. It means he emptied his house. That means when they left, there was no one back home. I can't think of a better definition of all in. Our family member has been taken captive, whatever that looks like in 2018, and we're going to bankrupt ourselves to go get back what's ours. To go rescue and save and make whole someone that has been taken captive. That's faith. I got some other words for that, but they're probably not appropriate for church. He led out his trained men. Now there's 4 key words that the Hebrew describes or is defined by the word trained. These people were narrowed. That means they came into this world with kind of like, hey, we can do anything we want. And then trained in Abram's house means you are here for a purpose. And as you walk and as you live in my house, you will know who you are and you will have a purpose. You're narrowed to a specificity that I know who I am and I won't be distracted by all the other things. That's what it means by trained. It means initiated, which means they had to go through some processes, kind of like initiation to get into something. Like they went through steps and processes in order to be called one of Abram's trained men. Disciplined. To be trained means you were disciplined. It means you weren't afraid to be corrected. Man, that's a tough one in 2018 because everyone's entitled to their truth. By the way, I think that's one of the most devastating little phrases that's currently in the culture right now. There is no such thing as your truth. There is truth. And his name is Jesus. And I really think that needs to be talked about much more regularly because someone just used that Sunday night and it's like now the favorite buzz phrase of the media culture right now, and it really just irks someone who knows who the truth really is. And disciplined people know who the truth is and live according to the truth. And it's way better than your truth. Because can I just tell you my biggest problem with your truth is that your truth can be completely different than your truth, and who's right? It's all opinion. And it's all based on your experience, your pain, your filters. It's very divisive. Where truth, the actual truth, unites. Brings us together. These guys were disciplined. They came together and even when they were divided by Abram, they were still together because they were mustered properly. Then finally practiced. That's what those 4 words are for trained. Narrowed, initiated, disciplined, and practiced. That means that whatever they went out and did when they got Abram and the 4 other kings' peoples back, or 5 other kings' peoples back, they had practiced something along these lines before. I don't know why. And if you find out later, Abram's just rich in livestock. But there must have been so much other training going on than just how to take care of sheep or cattle that when it came time to go take out armies, they knew what to do. Something on the inside of me says, if we live according to the heart of God and we are disciplined and initiated and trained by the Jesus that lives on the inside of us, we will be ready for anything. I love it. Something about Abram's house. Trained men born, birthed or begotten in his house. That's what it means, birthed or begotten. How many of you feel like you were born again at who? Yeah, that's at least half of you. Where you came here, maybe you didn't even know why you were coming here, or you kind of had a little hunger or something like that. And whatever happened to you here because of the Lord, something so revolutionized on the inside of you that even though you were a Christian before, you felt like, oh my gosh, I had no idea what Christianity really was until I've encountered the Father. That's exactly what I feel like, the same thing that happened here. Like I can tell you, you might be 38 or 48 or 18 and came here before or after you were born, but you can still be one of those ones born in this house. Doesn't that sound like fun? And then living according to this culture of the Father that we've experienced and encountered. In his house, 318 and went in pursuit as far as Dan. I love it. Okay, so let's get into some of the specifics. So, for me, I see really big things. Do we have video ready? Do we have the picture too? Okay, let's start with that picture. This picture, Autumn found this picture after Randy and I, without even talking to each other. How many years ago was that now? When we were in, where were we? It was 3 years ago. What city was it? I don't even know what city we were in. That was in Kiev? All right. So we were sitting on the front row of one of our Ukraine Koinonia gatherings, and neither one of us said a word to each other, but we were sitting next to each other, and we both went into, call it the Spirit, call it the Father's heart. It all is kind of one thing anyway. We went into this place. Neither one of us said anything to each other. We didn't say, hey, let's go. We just were there together. And we realized, I didn't realize it right away. I realized about halfway through that we were there together. And we each saw like really important, powerful things about the future. And some of what I'm sharing with you tonight is what we saw that night, or what I saw that night specifically, but Randy saw some of these things too. And one of the things I saw were like these centers of light all throughout the earth that were growing and expanding, and then they would spider web out with like legs and go and reach out to these other centers of light that were all across the earth. And before long, they would connect, and then they would grow into each other, and then the two that were now one would grow into another one, and before long, the whole earth was covered. And that's how it started. And that is a what, Autumn? What is that? That's a brain cell? And that's connecting and communicating with another brain cell. What's a synapsis? Gotcha, thank you. I should know that. I was a chemistry major. So it's when electrons fire and communicate one with another. That's what that is. And when she showed us that picture, I was like, wow, that is really close to what I saw. But I saw that on the surface of the planet. And that green center grew, and the legs grew shorter as the distance between green blobs just became one big green blob. And then, that's. And then the second thing I saw, and it's really interesting. I had lunch the other day with Chuck and Leslie, and as Dawn and I were sitting with them, I was sharing just a little bit of what I saw. And do you have that other thing ready? Yep. Do I need to do that? And I never even really thought about it in this way until I was talking to Chuck, and it just kind of plopped into my spirit as I was describing what I saw. Can you show that video? Specifically focus on the wave of destruction that spreads out from the epicenter and how it moves from the center out. Is it playing again? Is that what it's going to do? Oh, it's just going to loop. So let's let that play a little bit. As I was talking with Dawn, Chuck, and Leslie, what I saw was like a bomb hits. I think what this video is, it is a replica of what happened at Nagasaki, which is not very happy. But nonetheless, it's a nuclear blast, and at the epicenter, the bomb drops, and then these waves of power stretch out in every direction from the epicenter. That wave thing right there was the thing I saw. And specifically what I saw was structures hindering the organic life of Jesus in the earth would fall as this blast and this wave of power and influence from the center of that blast went out. And it literally knocked down every structure that hindered the organic life of Jesus in the earth. Oh, now we got sound. Okay, you can stop that. Thank you. The key for me in both of those pictures, whether it's the nerve cell or the brain cell, or that center where that mushroom cloud first starts, is what's at the center. I started with thinking about what was at the center of the blast and what was at the center of that cell. And I can't describe it with any other word other than a core. And this is something that I have seen. I remember we were still facing that way, and we did a vision night. I don't remember how many years ago it was, but I talked about a core 100 people. Was anybody here where I talked about that? Okay, we got a few people that remember that. That's awesome. And I don't know if the 100 is really an accurate number, but I just saw, it just seemed like a really good number to land on. I actually think it's more than that. I'd love to say a core 318 to be all Abrahamic and stuff. But I see a core group of people, and they are the epicenter of that nerve or brain cell. They are the light in that thing, and then they are the ones that take light and travel out from that place, influencing both that circle and the people around it. Also, they are the center of that nuclear blast that spreads out, knocking down structures, hindering the life of Jesus in the earth. This core of people is, my vision is consumed by this core of people. Now, there are many more people than the core. But for me, as a dad, as a leader, I am focused on the core. I want this core group of people to be so alive, so in love with the Lord and each other, that something happens on the inside of them that's so magnetic and powerful that those waves rock out of your life, knocking down structures in everyone else's life that hinders them from seeing the Lord like you do. So what I wanted to do tonight, and I was going to write it on the board, but it would take too much time, so I'm just going to read these to you. I have 8 characteristics of what I think core people look like. So I'm not telling you this is Bible. I'm just telling you what I see, okay? And if you want to take notes on this, this is fine. I think this is being recorded for later. You can see it. But when I look into the future, I see this core group of people so powerful, so in love, so authentic and real. And these are the qualities I see in them. Number 1, these are sons are in this core, and these are sons who will not hesitate. Question, doubt, and fear are drowned in perfect love and faith. Listen to this. The task at hand, it doesn't matter what the task is. The task at hand becomes the demand of a son. One of the things I see about a son is it doesn't matter what's in front of them. They never think to themselves, that's somebody else's job. Sons think, if it's in front of me, kind of like what Paul says, if my hand is on it, I'm going to do it. I saw that. They didn't hesitate thinking, oh, that's not for me, or I don't think I should do that, or I'm above that, or anything like that. A son, as soon as Abram walked in the house and said, Lot was taken captive, let's go get him. Not one of them said, ah. And again, I know the detail isn't there, so you're just going to have to trust me that didn't happen. Because they were born and trained in Abram's house. They had the same heart that Abram had. And if Abram said, we're going, just like in Paul, hey, there's a door of opportunity, we all said, when are we leaving? That's what the core group of people I see. If Abram walks in, if Paul walks in, and even if some of us, if any one of the core walked in and said, guys, I think we're supposed to do this, the core would all say, what do we need? Let's go. That kind of unity, that kind of love for one another, that kind of trust among one another that says if it matters to you, it matters to all of us. Could you imagine a core group of people that feel that way about each other? Nothing is below him or her, nor is anything too difficult or impossible. If anybody would have stayed long enough or walked into Abram's house and heard them talking about the strategy to take out 4 kings' armies, looking around the room at 318 guys, I'm sure there would have been some doubt being sown in, but not among the 318. And then Abram said, we're going to divide. They did it. There's something about sons that just like, okay, let's do this. You know, one of the people that really has that quality is this guy right here. You don't have a lot of doubt or fear or question. You're like so many times I've said something to Devin. Devin's just like, okay, yeah, we can do that. There's other people I can mention in this room that are like that too. You're just like, okay, yeah, there's probably some difficulties we'll run into, but when we get to those difficulties, we'll figure it out. Oh, I love that. Quality number 1 of a son, they don't hesitate. Number 2, this quality of a son that I see in this core group, they're as skilled and engaged in the world as they are in the church. They're like a dual threat. They're as effective in the world as they are in the church. To a son, both are equally important. The church is a place to learn, grow, and practice who we are. And the world is a place to be who we are and engage the rest of our family with our growing, on fire, men identity. I mean that. In this house, in this family, in our gatherings, we get to practice who we are. We get to be, invigorated by His Spirit and everybody else's spirit around us. We get trained, we get born anew, we get breathed life into us, and then we go out and we be this person we've discovered here. And we're as skilled and engaged in the world as we are in the church. We're equally important. So if we're super busy in the world, we don't come in here like a vegetable. A core group of people are as active here. They're engaged. When they walk in, they see themselves as Jesus as much in this room as the person preaching behind this pulpit. There is no one more important in this room than me. I have just as much to offer as anybody else. And when I come in here, I'm as important in the training and discipline of this group as anyone else here. That's what a core person thinks. That's what a son thinks. And then when, I've said this many times before, they can't wait to leave. As cool and as fun as it is when they gather together as a church, they can't wait to get out there and be who they really know they are out there. And by the way, that's what SOS 202 is all about. If you wonder what SOS 202, 101 is about realizing who you are and getting cemented in that. And then 202 is practicing that out there. Being that for real. So sons, do not hesitate, and they're skilled and engaged in the world and in the church. Number 3, sons in this core group of people that are sending this shockwave and this light throughout the earth, they love strong and consistently. They love strong and consistently. Love is our ministry. They have shifted from, I'm a prophet. They've shifted from, I'm a Sunday school teacher. They've shifted from, I have the anointing for healing. As beautiful and as important all those things are, when we walk in the love and spirit of the Father, all of those giftings are available at any moment. This is so important for us to realize. Now the power of God, the mercy of God, the healing of God, the wisdom of God, the words of knowledge and insight and wisdom are all available when you simply say, I love you like the Father loves you. Something happens in your heart, the Spirit of God fills you, and now the gifts become the gift. The Holy Spirit is active and alive in you. And at any moment, you're in Giant, you're at work, you're at home with your kids, putting your kids to bed. And before you realize it, your prayers over them are prophetic unctions declaring their future. And all you're doing is loving your kids. That's core. This love is strong, it's constant, and there's no duality. And I typed that with real intention. Because sometimes our love has duality. Sometimes it looks like this in this situation, and then sometimes it looks totally different in another situation. Sons love full on all the time. It doesn't matter who they're in front of. See, for too long, people, I'm not even going to say church people, people have loved based upon who's in front of them. The source of their love was the person in front of them. But son's source is the Father. And his love is always turned on full for whoever we're in front of. That's core. Number 4, so we got sons do not hesitate. Sons are skilled and engaged in the world as they are in the church. Sons love strong and consistently. Number 4, sons have matured past tall hills and low valleys of emotion, perspective, and commitment. I'm going to say that again. Core people believe that what I see is core people. They've matured past tall hills and low valleys of emotion, perspective, and commitment. Sons understand process and are patient in their zeal. I can't explain that, but have you ever been really zealous about something? Like you are so excited and you're like, I can't wait to get this done. But sons have patience in that excitement. Sons are steady, not flaky. Do I need to define what flaky is? Y'all gonna get that idea? Like, I'm just gonna be real with you. Sons don't just say, hey, I'm gonna take a vacation from identity for a couple weeks. I'm gonna be whoever I wanna be. Sons don't do that. Sons recognize that the fact that they're sons carries weight and responsibility. You just do. It's part of being a son. They're steady and not flaky. They are calm but not lazy. They know how to start without haste and how to finish without giving up. Those are sons. So they've matured past tall hills and low valleys. Guys, look, I think life will always look like this. Okay? We're always going to have some ups and some downs, but it's not this. Okay? I don't think that's how God designed human living to be. That's when we live in our emotions, when we live in our circumstances, when we let outside things determine it instead of who we know the Father is inside of us by his Spirit. We will have peaks and we will have valleys, but they are mellowed out by his Spirit. Amen? That's core. They've matured past those things. And those valleys are of emotion, perspective. In other words, like I remember living in a place where one day I saw clearly, one day I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing. I saw the future really well and I was working toward it in my present. And there was other days where I couldn't see as far as my hand. I don't have those days anymore. And that's not arrogant. I'm just being real with you. It's because I've chosen to live in the Father. And when you live in the Father and by his Spirit, you constantly see. You just do. And I know many of you are there too. All right, sons, number 5. This core group of people, I'm just going to say it like I see it. Sons in this group are sons who remain or are purposefully sent out. Faithfulness and consistency are bedrock characteristics of sons. You never have to wonder where a son is because his heart convinces us that he or she is always with us. And if we do go, it is with purpose, it is with clear mission, and the blessing of family. This is something I think is really important. It harkens back to Genesis 14. I'm pretty sure, and this is just my guess, that when Abram came into the house to say, hey guys, Lot was taken, he knew where all 318 were. Even if they were out in the field or doing something in the, I don't know, give me a farming term, somewhere else other than in the house, he knew exactly where they were and where to get them. Here's the problem I have, and I'm just going to be real with you for a minute. As a father, as a leader, even as your friend, sometimes I can't find you. I don't know where you are. And then when I do finally, get in your presence physically, you're not really here. And I'm going to be real, that's not my problem, that's yours. And sons own that. Sons say, look, I've checked out for a while, I repent, I'm back in. Sons just remain. Now, Ben brought this up. I sent these notes out to the whole leaders group, and he brought back, hey, don't forget, sons can actually leave. Absolutely they can leave. Let's send you out. Let's bless you. Let's make sure the family's involved. You are sharing with us what your heart is of why you're going, and we're involved so that when you go, we're going with you. We're going to nag you in the spirit. We're going to nag you with texts and phone calls and Facebook messages and videos reminding you that we're with you. And that's part of the whole light that gets extended and expanded out past just a little green blob. The whole reason why that gets expanded is because you don't just stay at home. You do go and stretch out and expand the kingdom. That's how it covers the whole earth. But you still remain in the house. You can remain in the house and go thousands of miles away? Ben and Jen just modeled that. Aaron and Jen modeled that when they moved away. Even though they left, they never really left. Their hearts were still here. So sons, or this core remains or purposefully is sent out. I got a couple more here, and then I'm going to really fly with things I see in the future. Sons, or this core group of people, this is really important. We talked about this a little bit when Ben and I were talking on New Year's Eve. Sons bridge gaps, sons initiate, and sons are solutions. Sons always take the first step to reconcile. They have no need, listen to this. This I thought was the word of the Lord. They have no need of an invitation because they know they're always a host of the Father's culture. Like, I'm just going to be point blank with you. As I said this a couple weeks ago, remember, like, if I ever have someone come in and they're like this, and I know they're closed, like for me, a keep out sign is just begging me to find a way in. And when you're a son, you kind of just don't take no for an answer. You don't take the lack of text response as an answer. You just keep being annoyingly loving. Because you're a host. You're never a guest. A son is never a guest. A son is always at home. He knows that his or her love for the person that they're breaking into, they know that their heart is turned toward them in love, and they know how to get in. They're not disrespectful when they do it. They just know that's my home, and I belong there. That's how a son thinks. No place is not home. Or every place is home. That's probably a better way of saying that. Complaint makes no sense because the heart of a son is fixed on delivering, solving, and healing. I can tell you, one of the biggest differences I see between Christians and sons is complaining. Sons, they might see reason to complain, but in the reason, they see an opportunity. Jesus rarely complained. If he did, he was already solving what he was complaining about. You guys okay? I'm moving. Okay, number 7. Sons possess a single mind focused on the Father's heart in every situation. This is also really vital. Even in our downtime, whatever is happening, whatever they're doing, a son's heart is fixed on the Father's business. Everything is an opportunity for the kingdom to advance. Even joking around with a bunch of your buddies on a Friday night is an opportunity for the kingdom to advance. Did you know that? I can't tell you how many times we'll be joking around, having a great time, and then suddenly the whole room opens up because the presence of the Lord enters. And it wasn't just because the Lord sovereignly did it on his own. It's because one of us just decided, hey man, and we broke in. In fact, I've found sometimes casual environments are by far the best environments to just bring the best heavy stuff. Just bring it right there. Blow it up. Create new normal everywhere you are. I watch my girls doing this all the time. I've never watched people have so much fun and then suddenly be like downright serious and then 5 minutes later have all kinds of fun again. I think if anyone's taught me that, it's my own girls. But in the midst of that, you still have a focused heart on what the Father's thinking and doing. Finally, this is the 8th one and the final one. This core group of people that I see that's going to change the earth in the next 50 years, they're always hungry for more, but always content with what they currently have. A son has few needs. I think this is one of the qualities of a son. A son has few needs. When he does have a need, he or she gets or asks for what he needs. That sounds really crazy. If you have a need, go get it. And if you don't know how to go get it, ask. It is pride to not ask for what you need. And then sometimes when you ask, the question might come back to you, did you do this? Did you consider this? There's nothing wrong with that. That's calling out your sonship. That's calling out who you are. And if you've already done those things, we'll help. That's how family works, right? A son's food is the Spirit. I love this. His food is the Spirit, and a son is much more excited about setting tables than eating at them. I have found that I'm much happier making sure everybody else eats. I can't tell you how many times the Derniac family has always eaten last at one of our corporate meals or corporate gatherings. You guys have probably seen that. It's because we want to make sure the family eats. And every Sunday when we're here, I just feel like, I've told the leaders this many times, my favorite thing to do is even if you guys don't eat, some Sunday you just come in and you've had a really bad week and a really bad day, and you're just here because you're supposed to go on Sunday, we're still going to set the table for you. We're still going to bring the best stuff. We're still going to make sure that the environment is charged with His Spirit so that you, when you're on and when you're ready and when you're open, you get filled. That's now my food. I love it. Sons would rather set the table than eat at it. Amen? So what I see is this core group of people who are growing in each of these characteristics. And look, there's more. There's plenty more. But I'm Mark, and I'm up here, and I'm telling you what I see, okay? What I see is this core group of people, you know, for the most part in this room, we're adults. At least you have the body of adults. And these adults, what I think's going on is we're going to practice and experiment those 8 things. I think that's what church is about. I think we're going to practice doing those things. Has anybody ever watched or been a part of practicing? How's it go? Anybody ever learned something brand new recently? Lots of mistakes. You get hurt. Maybe other people get hurt. Maybe you break stuff. Guys, can I tell you, if we would realize and think of one another as simply learning or maybe unlearning everything we learned that was stinky and terrible, and we're remembering how to be sons and daughters of a Father, maybe we would have more grace and mercy with each other. Maybe there'd be a whole lot more forgiveness and a whole lot more repentance because we realize we're all just learning. We're practicing this. And look, I'll be the first one to tell you, I mess up. I just told someone last night, I'm sorry, I am still learning this thing. I actually think until the day I leave this planet, I will be hurting people learning how to walk as a son. I will be. In fact, and this is not an excuse or justification, if I'm continuing to hurt, I'm continuing to grow. Because if I stop hurting people, that means I've stopped trying. I've stopped making an effort. But I will tell you, I will commit to bringing more healing and more wholeness than hurt as I grow. And if we would all have that same commitment with each other, and when we do mess up, and when we do try something and it doesn't work out well, or when we do back off for a little bit, we're not going to be upset when someone reaches in and says, hey, come on back. You left for a little bit. Hello? what I see is this current generation in the earth among us is going to continue practicing, experimenting, and growing in this culture of the Father's heart. We're going to make lots of mistakes. We're going to disappoint one another. We're going to frustrate one another as we remember how to walk in love. But if we remain, if we don't bail at the pain and the unmet expectations, I believe we're going to forge a foundational and powder keg of a core. And this core is going to, and I'm just going to tell you exactly how I saw it. This core is going to do what those two, the video and the pictures show. But here's more importantly, this core will become such a strong foundation that our children and our children's children will start at our highest point that we grew to. And our largest expanded place in our tent, when we stretched out our tent pegs to the right and to the left, that's their starting point. And they, oh my gosh, what I saw for our kids, the kids' skill to love, honor, and effortlessly live as Jesus will many times over surpass our ability. I see it so clearly. I've said this once before and I say it again. I'm watching my 4 kids walk with Jesus in a way I only ever dreamed. Like, look, I'm 48. I've been walking with the Lord for almost 30 years, not quite. And it still takes intentionality for me to practice walking with the Lord. But I'm watching my kids just almost be like, when I say something, my kids are like, I kind of got that already. They're almost starting to dub me, But they're a little bit more respectful than that. But and they're not even trying. There's no spirit of we kind of already get that. But I see it in them. Like this effortless, they just hear him and they act. But they don't even know they're hearing them. I think it's because it's in their bones. Like the sound and voice and direction of the Lord isn't sounding out of heaven through a prophetic word. It's in their bones, and they live by the marrow inside of them. And if we commit ourselves to being this core, this foundational group, that if Abram came in and said, we're going, we go. Could you imagine what those 318, their kids are like? And I see that. There are children in the womb right now in this room. There are children in the loins of men right now in this room. And I'm going to tell you this, now this is going to sound a little weird, but their DNA is vibrating at this sound. Where you're getting bored and wondering when this is going to end, they're going, oh my gosh, do you hear the sound of the Spirit? Jason, you are a great color guy. Every preacher needs a Jason. But we must remain and devote ourselves to this process of sonship, this culture of the Father's house. In his house, we were born anew. We shed the skin of false identity. In his house, we were initiated, we were narrowed, we were disciplined, and we were practiced. And our pride is shrinking to zero as we submit ourselves willingly to whatever brings forth our original identity. That's why we're here. That's why you came tonight. Offense, hurt, disappointment, frustration, they're doubling down points now for us. They're not opportunities to leave. They're reminders that this is worth it. That's what sons do. I think oftentimes that at the worst moment of Jesus' life was his greatest victory. The insults, the humiliation, all of the people that he loved that said they loved him were deserting him, and he was winning his greatest victory. He knew in that moment it was finished and everybody was bailing. That's a son. We will begin the process of spreading out. Not like typical missions efforts of past or current generations, but we will relationally connect heart to heart simply by building bonds of love with people. That's how we're going to grow. Look, I don't see 20 Who churches in the next 50 years. I don't. I have no desire to have this network of churches. I don't know why. I don't. I hear all kinds of other pastors talking about it. Maybe I'm off. I doubt it. But I don't see it. Because I think it actually distracts from the real point. Look, I'm going to tell you, it's not that easy managing the resources of one. And that can be distracting from actual kingdom effort. What I see is something very different. Over the next 50 years, and I said this if anybody read it in the family page, over the next 50 years, the church will make a major shift, this is what I believe, from multiple major influential ministries and movements. We all have them. You all could probably name at least one that you either listen to their music, listen to their main preacher, or buy their books or something like that. It's great. I think it was all building up to oh my gosh, I almost said the word season, to a period of time. This prophetic guy over here. Where we're going to become now a more, I don't really care what your name is. It's really not about some main guy or gal. It's not about, you can even ask any of the big name speakers, even the Bill Johnsons of the world will tell you, conferences are shrinking. People, and if you would look, and I've been to one not that long ago, and I looked around the room at the population of the conference, and the average age was over 50 years old. I think there's a reason for that. I think what we're moving into is we're moving from a few major influential ministries and movements to one more anonymous, organic family. Much like Abram's 318. No one knows a single name of the 318. We don't know if they had titles. We have no idea. There were no titles. There were no names. They were just born and trained. I see something taking place in the earth that is more nameless, more organic. No one cares about who gets credit. It's not about who's winning, who's losing, how many books we're selling, how much music's getting sold in the earth. It's not about that. It's about what we're producing things in the hearts of people that causes them to fall in love with the Father who created them. This family will be the movement. We won't be just the next phase. I don't believe this is the next phase. I believe this is what Jesus came to start. Now that might sound arrogant, that might be overly bold, but I think that we've laid into something that's so powerful, that's so grassroots, what it looked like in the first church, even different than the first church, but the spirit of it is there. None of those guys cared if their name, in fact, at one point in the epistles, they say, what do you mean you're of Apollos or you're of Paul? They actually ridicule them of that because it wasn't about that anymore for them. We will be the movement of the Father in the earth because unlike any other time since Jesus himself walked here, there will be a corporate, tangible, and unified presence of God among men. Let me just share a couple specifics. I know it's 8:34, and if you've got to go, you can go. I totally understand it. Let me just show you a couple specifics I saw later on today. The leaders don't have this on their notes. I see a dynamic community spread throughout the earth. I see people that are ours, but they're not whoites. But they're ours. They have the same heart and the same spirit that we've chosen to walk in. They don't need to be people that call who their home church. I don't think it was ever supposed to be about how many people we can get in the church. I think it was always supposed to be how many people we can influence because of what's happening here among us. The heart and lives of these people have been so changed and shaped by the Father's presence among us. And us is a corporate us. It goes beyond even who. Many will not even consider themselves who family. That doesn't matter. But someone among us, influenced by the Spirit that's transformed them among us, went out and made a difference in the earth. And they might not even be able to tangibly turn around and point back to some place in Chambersburg or in North Carolina or places that they call home. They won't be able to say, that's where I came from. But deep down on the inside of them, they'll say, I'm my Father's son or daughter. And it'll be ours. And it won't be about owning them. It won't be about being able to count them as part of the church. I love that. I love not knowing how much influence we have. Something else I see about us in the future, that the spirit of us will be more important than the actual things that we do. Whatever this community, this core group of people, as it grows and expands in the earth, the hallmark trait will be the spirit of their actions more than their actions. Because there won't be certain things that who people do. Well, that's a who person because they do this. No, they're going to know us by our heart. They're going to know us by the Spirit. When you walk in this building, I've heard it time and time again from visitors. Just met with a family this week who was in our church for the first time on Christmas Eve. And they said, we walked in this place and it was like any other church we'd ever been in our entire lives. It was so much, and they used these words over and over again. There was love and there was family in the house. And it drew them back. And they actually met with us to talk about a couple things before they decided to make it their home. And they decided to. But it's the spirit of that thing. It's when the people saw the disciples in Acts and said, we recognize that you have been with Jesus. It's going to be that spirit that they feel. It will have a peculiar feel of home and honor and loving family. Their environment will feel like the growing one among us here at Who. There will be special meetings, corporate gatherings, these SOSs. I really think SOS, there's something really important about what we're doing in SOS. I think it's going to grow and expand. We're even talking about SOSs, like financial versions of them. We're talking about marriage SOSs. We're talking about health SOSs, where we really get serious and get down to the nitty-gritty about particular issues of our lives and let the SOS environment bring healing and restoration to those places. But there will be all these special meetings, corporate gatherings, SOSs, and even other church families across the globe inspired by us, but these will be small compared to the culture-changing activity of sons in the marketplace and in everyday life. What I think our 50-year impact will be in the earth will be in the marketplace. We'll be in schools. We'll be in places of business, of government interaction, that we won't say who across the door, but it'll feel like Dad's house there. Many different kinds, this is something really important, I see this. Many different kinds of streams, churches, and ministries, including us, Who will gradually and humbly shake off unnecessary identifiers to join together in corporate unity without losing their uniqueness. That sounds like the kingdom to me, and I see it taking place. I see like all these tributaries. You know how rivers, and then they have tributaries running off of them? I saw playing it, and if you hear just Third Trumpet by itself, you're not going to buy the album, right? You're just kind of like, what is that? That's what's going on in the kingdom right now. We are blasting to the world Third Trumpet. And anyone who loves Third Trumpet sound is like, oh yeah, we're in that, and that's our stream, and we're rolling and frolicking in Third Trumpet, and it's okay. I mean, it's not out of tune, but any one particular part played on its own doesn't have near the richness or effect if first, second, and third trumpet play all together and then adding all the other instruments into it. That's what I see happening. And that's why I think what we're going to do in spring is so important, moving forward, even doing that more and more. There are things in other streams and ministries we need. And there are things among us, characteristics of the Lord, that those streams need. And I want to be an agent that over the next 50 years intentionally brings us together. I want to start doing it. So we're going to be able to start moving in unity together without losing our powerful uniqueness. It will be one of the greatest pictures of heaven on earth the earth has ever seen. And finally, over the next 50 years, what I see is this family's focus will be on influence, heart change, and maturing sonship. I've said this many times to the Lord. I said, Lord, I don't want to be the biggest church in Chambersburg, but I want to be the most influential. And I hope that's okay to pray, but I pray that regularly. I don't want to necessarily have to have, I don't, being the biggest church, in my opinion, it just sounds like a headache. Like, I'm sorry, it just does. Plus, it like hurts my ability to be flexible. Just being real. I'm sorry, maybe that's flesh. Maybe I'll get over it someday. But I want to remain flexible. I want to do marketplace stuff. I want to be involved in things. I want to go across the earth. I don't want to have to hire a whole bunch of staff and then organize stuff, because I'm saying, again, that's, again, a diversion of resources. I want to be mobile. I want to be able, when Abram walks in, yep, we can do that. We don't have to have a staff meeting. We don't have to go check the board and see if we have the budget for it. I don't want to do those things. I want to be able to say, lots taken, let's go. That's what I want. I want to stay nimble and flexible. And when someone has a need, we're there. So I'd rather be influenced. That's actually easier. Our relationship with the Lord, broadcast in the lives of people. I love it. So our focus will be on influence, will be on heart change, and the maturing sonship of every human being. We're not going to be able to take a census of who in 50 years. Like right now, I don't think we could count our family. I don't think we can number us. I actually think that's an unnecessary practice. In fact, every time they ever counted in the Bible, it never went well. So let's not do that. That's why you never see us post how many people were here last Sunday and how much we took in the offering. Numerical growth will be the result of a maturing core and family of sons. I want our numerical growth to be so much more than who shows up and sits in a chair. I want it to be the number of people that each one of us individually impact by the sonship and the fathering that's happening inside of us, radiating into everywhere we go. You can't count that. You can't number that and then take an offering. I don't want to be doing that. I want our lives to literally be who church everywhere we go. I want it to be the Father's house everywhere we go. So I don't know, maybe that's a weakness of me as a pastor. I'll take it. I am not a church builder. For me, church building is the individual maturing of each one of you. For me, that's building church. Are each one of us growing? Are each one of us maturing? Are each one of us losing our offendability? I can start going off all kinds of characteristics of what I see true church building being. Are we loving better? That's for me. Now there's more. I had to stop typing tonight because I was eating arepas. But I just kept seeing stuff. And I pray that, I know we went over time and I'm really sorry. I committed that every core week would be done at 8:30, so please forgive me and pray. And that's part of core. Can you forgive me for going past 8:30? Are you core? Are you core? Jen wrote, are you core? I know you. That'd be a real test for Jen wrote right now. I love you.
All right, so.
Uh-oh, now it's not me.
Yeah, now it's me. All right. So I had no intention of being here tonight. I was supposed to be in Philadelphia, but we got done what we needed to get done yesterday, but and I realize what time it is, and I'll hear about it later. But so this is actually something that stirred in me today. So I had and I'm gonna read a lot of it because just because. So I had a picture of the tent that was used before the temple, and what happens when that tent became permanent, or what happens if that tent becomes permanent. All right. So you could lay a foundation, you could put a floor down, you could square up the corners, frame up the walls, put in trusses, and then lay the canvas over it. And that would work for a little while. But I was drawn to the canvas and how it reacts in the elements under this new structure. And specifically the wind. It would blow, but it would be constrained by the new structure, and it would likely tear. And then you'd probably want windows, cut some doors, add a classroom or two, And so this canvas, which served him so well in the past, we see it as useless. And I went and I looked and just in this, like, God didn't ask Abram to build a temple, or David to build a temple. David went to the Lord and said, I'm going to build a temple for you. And I believe that God loved David so much that he said, no, you're not going to do that, but one of your sons will. And I still don't think that God desired to have that temple built. But he loved David so much and knew that David's heart was to honor him that he said, okay, but it's going to get taken care of after that. And so just as you shared, and I don't know if this ties into that or not, but like, and I've probably been, and I'll go down here to this thing. You know, I know for me that building and growing and sustaining a church or a family or a church family or whatever we want to call it, I've always felt structurally we needed a temple. And in my desire to build the temple, even though it was a right thing to do, I felt in my heart to do, in my desire for structure, in my desire to have things the way that they need to be, I've lost what his purpose was. And so just as you shared about what we're not going to do, I just wanted you to know that I heard that today. Because I think we can have pillars. We're the pillars, right? We have the foundation already laid, and we actually become each other's covering. So everything that we desire from the structural point of things, it is. And so, yeah to all that. And I just wanted to share that. Because it's been a struggle for me.
Thank you for sharing that. One thing I want to emphasize, one of the things I said today was that sons don't start with haste and and finish without giving up. I want to encourage you, don't quit this. You came tonight, it's called core. My guess is you consider yourself core here. I gave you some really clear characteristics of what we see and look for in a core. What we believe the future is going to need. What our children and our children's children are going to need to be who they need to be in the earth. If we want to give them the greatest opportunity and don't have to struggle through the things we struggled through to get where we are right now, I encourage you, don't give up, double down, go all in, and take these opportunities to become that core. That vision is the Lord that gave it to us. He gave us that vision. Let's be a part of it. Let's just choose to be a part of it. Harold Eberly taught me a long time ago that the prophetic, in his opinion, was what God wants to happen. Not necessarily what will happen, but what he wants to happen, what's in his heart to have happen. And if you think about it, back to what Aaron said, whose tabernacle did the Lord desire to rebuild? It says David's tabernacle, not Solomon's, not Moses'. David's tabernacle, the one that could easily move, the one that didn't have all of the trappings, and one that anyone could enter in right into the presence of God. Guys, that's us. That is us. We're that mobile presence of God. And if we unify and if we walk in love with one another, we will have that nuclear impact upon the earth. I'm convinced of it. No structure will be able to stand in this temple to hold back the living organic life of God. Amen? I love you guys. Thank you for your patience. I know it's later than normal. See you soon. Bye.